So the California Democratic State Convention happened over the weekend, and there were some interesting things that happened, including a lot of booing of presidential candidates. I think you're going to like this. First of all, there's a guy running named John Delaney. He was a congressman in Maryland from 2013 until this year. He's polling almost zero, I think averaging, 0.5% to be exact. So he has no shot. But he showed up and he said Medicare for all might sound good, but it's not a good policy and it's not good politics. And he got booed so much that it actually got awkward. Take a look.
But we need, as Democrats, to build an economy that works. But it's got to be with smart policies. Medicare for all may sound good, but it's actually not good policy, nor is it good politics. I'm telling you. I'm telling you. 100. We should have universal health care. We should have universal health care.
Seriously awkward moment because the booing just wouldn't stop. But I'm going to take a position on this that I know people are going to mishear and get angry with me about. But if he had tweaked what he said slightly, it would have actually been a really strong statement with which I'd agree. Because right now, there is huge momentum over Medicare for all. But as I've said before, Medicare for all is just one way to get universal coverage and health care to everyone. I've said before, I'm a supporter of Medicare for all over the system we have. And I'm a supporter of Medicare for all over lots of other ideas that have been presented, including, the public option as part of Obamacare or whatever else. But there are problems with Medicare. Medicare is not nearly a perfect system. Would I take it over what we have? Of course, a million times over. But remember that 80% of the people who are on Medicare have something else in addition to Medicare because Medicare doesn't give them full coverage. Some people are working while on Medicare, so they have some kind of private employer-connected insurance. Some people who have Medicare are buying additional coverage through various supplement plans, or they're poor enough to get Medicaid in conjunction with Medicare. But the point is, Medicare for all isn't perfect. And if Delaney instead came in and said, listen, instead of saying Medicare for all is bad politics and bad policy, instead of saying my top priority is getting health care to everyone as soon as possible, and I will consider any system that gets us there, be it Medicare for all, a massive Medicaid expansion, a nationalization type system like in the UK, a state-based system that is similar to what Canada has at the province level. It doesn't matter, right? That would actually be a really great thing to hear from John Delaney, because sometimes I agree the left they get blinders on with Medicare for all when there are other options. And it's a perfectly reasonable debate to be had, to show up and to say, hey, this is bad policy and bad politics. He's a fool. He's a fool, and it's an idiotic way to present it. But there is actually a good discussion in there that we could have, which is Medicare is not perfect. And there are other countries that have different types of systems, which might be better if implemented in the United States. And we should consider all of them. We shouldn't rule any of it out. I've been talking about that. So huge mistake, strategic mistake by Delaney in a boneheaded way, really just putting his foot in his mouth. Then in comes John Hickenlooper at the same California Democratic Convention, another Democrat running with no support. He's polling 0.3%. Hickenlooper was the governor of Colorado from 2013 until this year. And he said, socialism is not the answer. And he got booed. Let's take a look at that clip.
But let me be clear. If we want to beat Donald Trump and achieve big progressive goals, socialism is not the answer. I was reelected in a purple state in 2014, one of the worst years for Democrats in a quarter century.
Okay, and the booing just went on from there. This is another dumb strategic mistake. I agree with Hickenlooper in that, for me, socialism is not the answer. I want to sort of take control of the capitalist system that we have and tweak and tailor it in the way that the Nordic countries and other Northern European countries have done, Denmark, Finland, whatever. These are capitalist countries that have said capitalism only goes so far, and we need to control it and rein it in for the benefit of everybody in our country to make sure people don't get left behind. So I agree with Hickenlooper, socialism is not the answer, but socialism's a non-starter, right? I mean, who's running on the socialization of the means of production, where workers own every business and there's no more private ownership of business? I'm not for that. Nobody's running on that, right? Why is the guy even attacking socialism at all? There's no candidates running on socialist policies. If it's an indirect attack on Bernie, okay, Bernie's running on social democratic ideas, like what we see in countries like Denmark and those other countries. When Trump yelled at his State of the Union speech, "We will never be a socialist country," and the Republicans clapped and went crazy, and some Republicans did too, I pointed out this is idiotic red meat because there is no serious risk that the United States is going to become a socialist country. The Democratic Party has almost no socialists in it. It's a straw man. It's a complete and total straw man. And similarly, when Hickenlooper shows up and says socialism is not the answer, who's he talking to? Like, okay, there were some people in the crowd who didn't like it. I would bet that even most of those people who think that they're socialists are actually social democrats. I know there are real socialists in the US. A lot of them don't even understand that they're actually social democrats. This is yet another one of these dumb strategic mistakes. Not that it matters for Hickenlooper because the guy has absolutely no shot. Talk about what you're for rather than socialism is not the answer, because who's talking about socialism? I know that in some polls, socialism is less unfavorably seen than it has been in a long time. Again, many of those people are talking about social democracy, but more importantly, even if socialism is less unpopular than it has been in a long time, which I agree it is. I mean, it's clear from the polls that that's the case. Socialism has been sort of reinvigorated in some sense. We're not fighting socialism. The Democratic primary is not a socialism versus capitalism primary. It's a how regulated of a capitalist system are we arguing that we should have? How much of the value created by capitalism do we believe should be assigned to improving society and the economy for everyone, regardless of their ability to pay and their economic circumstances? He's having a debate with effectively nobody when it comes to the content of the Democratic Party. Dumb move by Hickenlooper and Delaney, but very little risk since neither of them have a shot. Am I misinterpreting this? Let me know what you think. Make sure to give us a like on Facebook at facebook.com/David Pakman Show.